Fornication with Keeme. Hey. Hello, my name is Ajibola Tajideen, but you can call me Keeme, and today you're watching Konverstations with Keeme, a show where we usually ask stuff and make stuff. But for this season, we've been changing things around a little bit because of Corona, so we'll be checking in with old friends and old colleagues from the show, and then some new ones also, to see how they're doing and staying creative during Corona. Now, during this time, also, we have been seeing a lot of Black Lives Matter movements going on because of George Floyd. And today's guest, also, Juwan Crawley, who is an amazing artist for I Don't Care For You. That's my song. Yes. And also in Aladdin on Broadway. How is that right now for you, Juwan?
Oh, it's crazy. We haven't been at the theater since the second week in March. I've never not done nothing for this long since I graduated.
Yes. And when are you guys going back?
From what I know, the plan is for us to go back in January. They'd like for us to start rehearsing in January when it's safe to have everyone together again.
Yes. And of course, during this time, as an African-American performer, you probably are going crazy in your house feeling that you can't really do anything from home. But you have been protesting outside, correctly? Right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. How's that? How are protests for you?
The protests have been really, really amazing. I have been fortunate to be a part of this movement and to be in New York City, where there is a lot of gathering despite the pandemic, because I think that, the reality is that Black Americans have been having a different pandemic since America started. And that pandemic is systematic racism and white supremacy and Black oppression. And it's been really refreshing to see a lot of people, and I mean from every walk of life, gay, Black, white, straight, trans, cis, rich, poor, old, young, coming to these protests and really making our voice heard and letting them know that killing Black people is not okay.
A lot of fuss with the Broadway community and the TV community of actors and actresses who have come out and spoken about a lot of their fellow actors and actresses who have treated them wrong because of the color of their skin. Have you ever experienced that in your career?
I can't think of any time another actor has said anything to me that's made me feel a way, but I also have had the privilege since I've graduated to do shows that were always majority shows of color. Hamilton, we were all Black and brown. Found most of our cast was people of color. And then Aladdin, which is, again, mostly people of color.
Right now, there's a big fight going on about Hairspray because there were a few casts that did an all-white version of Hairspray. And
Hairspray.
There's a loophole supposedly in the show where you can do an all-white cast. Well, now the writers and the music director have discarded that loophole so that, it can be African Americans in the show. But I just wanted to know your opinion on an all-white cast of Hairspray and the people that allow that to happen.
What? No. How? The show... half of the show is about the civil rights movement. How can you do it with all white people?
Yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean,
I agree with that too.
I love that. Me as a young leader, I've kind of been struggling with having to stay home because my parents aren't allowing me to go protest. So what advice would you give to people like me who can't go outside and protest because of safety or just because their parents won't allow them, and young leaders who would like to participate in the movement?
I mean, my mom doesn't want me to go either. She gets so... But I think that there are many, many ways to protest. I don't think that my physical protest is my greatest form of protesting. I think that my art that I make is my greatest form of protest. I think the fact that I'm a confident Black man who walks around freely is also a form of protest. And we don't have to do that solely in the public space. We have the ability to do things like this, to post on social media, to hold conversations with people, all from our homes. And if that is what you can do right now, then that's what you can do right now.
What can I do as a young leader and a young person who doesn't have a lot of power that can make a change in a city like New Haven?
Well, I first want to, and I often do not correct people, but I must correct you. You do have a lot of power. You have the platform, you have your voice, you have your network, you have your thought process, you have your hopes and your dreams. So there is not a point where you don't have a lot of power. And I think the best way for you to exercise this moment in change, especially in regards to your school, is by using your platform to call attention to the double standard.
All right, before we end it, I know Kristen had a question for you and wanted to talk a little bit about the gala.
Yes. So I have friends who think that they are being helpful when someone posts Black Lives Matter, and then they will say all lives matter. And I don't think they're trying to be derogatory. I don't think they realize what they're saying. And I think they're saying, well, but, and I see why they're doing it. Well, every life matters. Every black, white, yellow, people, I got that. But why is saying all lives matter not particularly the right response at this time?
Well, I mean, I've heard the analogy a few times, which I think is a great analogy. You have two houses. They're right next to each other, these neighbors. One house is on fire. Somebody calls 911. The fire people come to put out the fire on the house that's burning. The person whose house is perfectly fine is not going to say, my house is on fire too. Mm-hmm. You don't need the help. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The truth is that all lives won't matter until Black lives do matter. Mm-hmm. So when we're saying, hey, we need help, mm-hmm, focusing on the people who are being systematically oppressed and targeted by our government and our people who we pay to protect us, you who have all the freedoms that we want, saying, well, yes, we matter too, or we matter, like all of us are important. No one's saying that you're not. And I think the reality is that people know that people are not saying that they don't, but they want to feel included in a struggle that they perpetuate, because by saying all lives matter, it kind of, the truth is that putting yourself in the same group as Black Lives Matter, well, I struggle too, kind of eases the guilt of you having to accept the fact that you, and all white people are not racist, but every white person benefits from racism. Every white person benefits from systematic racism. And to kind of wash their hands clean of that, I think sometimes people want to associate with it in a way that identifies them as also a victim.
The way you explained it makes complete sense, so I will try. Most of my friends are trying to understand and trying to be supportive and realize that we come woefully short of understanding your experience. And when I hear things happening in the world, I worry about you. I worry about Keeme. I worry about some of our other people within NPT. And I'm proud of our organization for, supporting this before, for years now, and putting people up on stage that are completely diverse. But I think we have a long way to go, all of us. So thank you for your frankness.
Of course.
Also, I think that a lot of people in this time think that when we say Black Lives Matter, we mean that your life doesn't matter as a white person. When that's not what we're saying. We're saying that, yes, all lives do matter, but right now, we're not getting the treatment that we should get. And we're not getting the treatment that you're getting. You're having your privilege and you're not understanding the fact that you're having your privilege. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. And that's what we're fighting for. And yet every culture has pride in their own culture, of course. And people want to always think that their culture is the best, of course. Mm-hmm. And they think that we are saying our culture is the best. No, we're saying that our culture is just as good as yours. Yeah. And that's what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
So
That
Thank
was
you
very well
so
said.
Much, Juwan, for joining us here on
Hold
Conversations
on.
with Keeme.
Hold
Oh,
on.
yes.
Got to advertise the gala. Coming up this Sunday online. It's called Grub, Gala, and Grease. In a nutshell, we've got a chef who's going to teach us how to make that thing that Danny Zuko orders in Greece, which is a double polar burger with a cherry chocolate sundae. So we have that happening, and mixed in are various performances. By the way, you'll see Keeme as Oliver when he was just a little soprano, actually more sounding like you, actually, Juwan. Anyway, that was the kind of casting that we do, and you'll see him mixed in there, interviews with our parents and performers, little bits of conversations with Keeme, I think, and then the gala part, and then Grease, if you want to watch ABC is doing a sing-along with Grease afterwards. So that's Sunday on our Facebook page, on YouTube Live, and it's free. We just like to have people tuning in.
And what's the Facebook page?
It's the New Paradigm Theater. I think it's just New Paradigm Theater, but you can look for that, as well as NP Theater. If you need to go to our website, actually, that's the best way to find both of them. It's nptheater.org.
Thank you, Juwan, so much for joining us here on Conversations with Keeme. It was so nice to talk to you again. I enjoyed our conversation. Yes, of course. Sorry, I lost track. Remember, guys, your voice is your power, and your voice has power. And thank you so much for joining us here on Conversations with Keeme. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Keeme out.